Hello everyone, I'm Heartfelt Word and welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons on my forever island, Evebury. This is the second version of my island. This is Moon City, as I've been calling it, so we're gonna explore what I've created. My town flag is just a pretty quick copy and paste of my other one. I don't really like designing flags, so it's kind of basic, but it gets the job done. So before we head on into the Moon City, we're going to take a look at my map. I have 3 player characters, Molly, Willow, and Sage, and then all of my villagers are deer. I have Bruce, Diana, Lopez, Zell, Eric, Fauna, Bam, Bo, Deirdre, and Fuchsia. This will probably be the last time I have Lopez on my island. I'm getting rid of him so I can get Shino on here so I can have a peppy villager finally. And yeah, this is the map and my dream address at the bottom. The front half of my island is set up like a research facility, I suppose. A little community on the moon. And then the back is the surface of the moon, kind of. Also, it's an aurora, because it was pretty. Unfortunately, it's a full moon, which kind of, I don't know, sometimes it ruins the illusion, but I thought it was nice. So, we enter right into the first thing I built. And it's just kind of like a little quarantine zone, little waiting area. I've got my spaceman here waiting, so you can just sit and hang out, wait for my mom to come over and visit or something. Also, my resident service is very close to my airport, so it makes this space kind of hard to deal with sometimes, so I liked the idea of just kind of blocking it off. So there's all kinds of little garbage and odds and ends in here. Looks like Fuchsia is singing to us this morning. So we're gonna head over to the right today. And this is like a little main street. I have a bunch of the stalls set up against a platform. And there's like a bookstore, some bottles, Spaceman is working on some electronics up there. Just odds and ends. I was really inspired by a lot of the city builds that people have done, and how cluttered but how beautiful it all looks together, so that was what I wanted to do. Most of my beaches are pretty basic, so don't expect a lot if you come visit. I really didn't have a whole lot of use for them or plans, so they're mostly just vines and glowing moss furniture. But on this main street here, we have Fauna's house, and in this version of Evebury, every house is kind of a shop or something. So I will, for my own sake, I'm going to put in a clip of what Fauna's interior looks like, so that way I have a record of it. But she has a little library, and I think it's pretty cute. Alright, thank you Tom Nook for letting us have an after-hours peek into Fauna's little library. I imagine this is the best place to come and study, that everybody here would be really, really quiet and, focused, rather than in my player house. The entrance room is a little noisy, TV and games and whatnot, so this is kind of a place where people can come and research or read or whatever they decide they want to do. And I think Fauna would be the perfect little librarian for it too. So moving along, right next to Fauna, we have Bam, and it looks like he's home. And if you couldn't guess from the outside, Bam has a gym. So let's go see his gym. Unfortunately, when I went to visit him, he was on the crafting table here, and it broke this little table, and anyway, we're here. He's got a cute little gym. I sectioned it off into a changing room, and maybe you come over here and have some drinks or whatever, your protein shakes, have some water, stay hydrated. I thought it was pretty cute. Yeah. It's very blue. Bam is a very blue deer, but come to find out he actually prefers the color green. So apologies that it's all blue. But everything on the island is blue. That was my main accent color, was blue, because a lot of things come in blue, so it's really easy to match. Yeah, so that's Bam's gym. I think it's pretty cute. So, we will go up that staircase in just a second. We're gonna head on over to the left, over the bridge, to the garden area. This is kind of where I imagine everybody's growing food. Oh, don't mind the weeds. I don't think these weeds will be here on the dream address. Ignore them if they are. So this is where we've got all of our garden and our fruit trees, and these are the only trees that are on my entire island right now. So it's kind of fun. All my villagers hang out over here. Lopez is checking out the tree, but I just kind of wanted to decorate the area for, you know, the town to kind of grow and have their own food supply. And we will check out the inside of Deirdre's house, because she is kind of the lead gardener here. So, Deirdre's house is a little bit different, but I think it's really cool. I got to use the greenhouse wallpaper as my foundation for the whole room, and I just put in whatever plant stuff I could. There's an apiary, there's some boxes, we got a hand cart, there's flowers drying on the wall. I tried to use, just everything I could. There's a variety of textures and shapes and colors, and I thought it was pretty cute. Oh, I'm stepping on the little millipede. Sorry, bud. But yeah, this is where I think we would keep supplies or start the seed starting for the rest of the outside garden. And I think this is the only room, the only house that doesn't have an air conditioning unit. They just have that little fan up there. The air conditioning unit was just a little bit too big. But I think it turned out really cool. It's very different than what I would normally make, and I like that. I like challenging myself to design some interesting looking rooms, and I think I may have accomplished that, at least a little bit. So once again, the beaches here are pretty basic, but I'm gonna just skim through them so that way I can remember in the future what they look like. And there is technically a way that you can go towards the back here. You can walk through there, but we're not going to. We're going to pretend that that's where the river mouth was, because, well, I didn't want to block that whole area off with rocks and stuff, but I don't know. The waterscaping on this island, let me stop right in front of the lamp. The waterscaping on this island is a little weird because both of my river mouths are on the south, so it kind of helped me frame in my city, but having the exits was kind of a little weird. So upstairs, on this little second tier behind Bam and Fauna's house, we have, let's see if I remember, it's been a while. This is Eric's laundromat and Beau's diner. So we'll check out Beau's Diner first. Welcome to Beau's Diner. So originally I had this counter pulled back a little bit further so you could actually get into the kitchen area, but I felt guilty about Beau only having 2 squares to walk in, so we changed things around a little bit. You can no longer reach the kitchen, but you can reach the rest of the diner. And I thought this was a really cute place to just kind of put some weird things up on the walls. There's party garlands. You can't really see them when you're zoomed in, but you zoom out, there's party garland on the wall up there. Lots of little diner food like french fries and sandwiches, and I imagine a milkshake. I think it's a milkshake. Anyway, it's pretty cute. I like the minty color. It pairs really well. The diner cafe stuff pairs really well with this green wallpaper. So, yeah. I think it turned out pretty nice. And he's got some cute little food outside, a couple little stands, and over at Beau's house, no, not Beau's house, Eric's house, Eric's laundromat. He's got some clotheslines outside, and maybe somebody was doing some laundry here. and just a mop and the little duster item. So let's go. Oh, he's asleep. Wasn't he just awake? Well, we'll check out his interior as well. Eric has the cutest little laundromat. It recently underwent a big remodel. The washing machines were blue and black, and the wallpaper and stuff was black, but it really darkened this place up like a whole bunch. So I'm glad I changed it. I also used this cute little heart flooring. I feel like it fit. It kind of lightened the space up a bunch, but it's just got a little laundromat. Place to hang and iron your clothes. There's a little bathroom with a mop if you need it. A bunch of washing machines. I imagine some would be dryers. And I put a variety of little knickknacks on top from I believe those are the throwing beans far over there. Medicine, a basket, a timer. I don't know, just things that kind of looked like it would work in a laundromat. I dropped a coin on the ground so that way maybe somebody was gonna get a soda or try this cool claw machine. But yeah, I really like how this ended up turning out. I'm really happy I went with the lighter color. I reworked this area too. This area had a bunch of other like a sink and a bucket, and it was too much. This is way simpler and way cuter, so coming down from the two boys, my two lazy boys, they had to live next to one another. They're always together, and it's so cute. I have a downward facing incline with some of the like campfire. What are these? These are like the stoneware kitchen things facing the wrong direction. I feel like it creates a really cool little border. I actually stole the idea from my mom who did it on her island. Thought it was really cool, and it kind of creates a nice shell to that platform. But right up here we have a little ramen shop, and yeah, that's Zell's house. So we've just got a cute little ramen stall here, nothing fancy. And then my only attempt at my own house, like my own creation of a house. I think it turned out pretty cute. I'm pretty happy with the lights and the movement of the clothes up there, and it just kind of framed in the space pretty well. But let's check out up here at Zell's house. Now Zell has a really cool house in that he gets like the coolest little peaks of the back of the island. And up here there is a secret ladder you can come up and see my cool little rock garden that I made. This took me forever to get in place, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really like the little swirl and the movement it's got, so I'm pretty proud of it. It also has a really nice view of the sky through here too. But I've got a lot of the boiler items and what are those, meters and pipes, I think? They just add some movement and some noise, and they just kind of help the ambiance here. Alright, so this is Zell's house. It is pretty cramped, but it is one of my favorite builds I've done. My interiors, anyway. Because he's the little security man. He's got the security wallpaper on and a whole bunch of monitors, and the idea is that he basically just sits here and kind of gets the tea on everybody in the island. So let's go and check out Zell's house. I think Zell would like his job of observing everybody in town. He kind of seems like he'd be the gossip, but like, oh, you like your button? Isn't that cute? That's kind of like the emergency button in case something actually goes wrong here, but for the most part, Zell just wants to like snoop, and that's okay. We love Zell. Sorry, bud. I'll talk to you soon. So we continue on back down this ladder, and we continue on our road. There's another little newsstand, and then this diagonal continues down that first path that we walked along. And right behind Resident Services is kind of my shopping district. I have Able Sisters over here with some shirts for sale, and they've got a little snack area in between. I like to just sit here and just kind of observe. My villagers are over here quite often too, because it's really close to Resident Services. And then Fuchsia here has a specialty clothing store for all of our moon residents. I feel like it may be one of my least favorite interiors, which is kind of unfortunate because I love Fuchsia, but this is what we've got. I've got a lot of the like space outfits and the power suit stuff for sale, kind of lined up on the walls, and it's really simple, but I feel like it kind of hopefully gives off the vibes of like higher end boutique, kind of. You know, Fuchsia's a very fashionable lady, so I imagine she'd run a very fashionable store where all of the fashion is what color jetpack you're gonna get and what color mask you're gonna get. But you know, it's fine, it works. To the right of Fuchsia, we've got a little bit of a bandstand. People can come here and, you know, hang out, play some music. Let's see, what is this playing again? KK Ragtime. It sounded like somebody could be over here just playing on the piano, you know? Thought it was pretty cute. Plus it gives my villagers something to interact with. And then upstairs we have Bruce's house, and beside it we've got a couple vending machines and claw machines, and maybe somebody set down their groceries and their little change purse to play some claw machine games. Maybe win that plushie up there. And this is just a little shopping strip. We've got the shopping cart return, a row of wind turbines because it was important to me to have like various different means of like energy production here. So on the left behind Deirdre's house of my island, there's a whole bunch of solar panels, and then here's wind turbines, and I just kind of like the way they looked. So there's the rock garden over there. Yeah, I like the little clutter that I put. I've got a lot of scattered paper like everywhere, but you can walk over it, so it's one of my favorite items. And let's check out this convenience store. I lightened it up in here. That looks nice. So, this is Bruce's little convenience store. It is jam-packed full of stuff. I imagine most of the island residents would come here to get their goods and check out and, you know, hang out with everybody. You can actually, if Bruce is not in the way, you can squeeze yourself down into those cabinets down there. But I don't want to get Bruce mad at me. He's one of my favorite villagers, so. There we go. See, we can sneak down here. We can pick up some canned goods. The lights are a little weird in here. I feel like I should have used less, but they match the aesthetic. So, yeah, this is Bruce's convenience store. Alright, coming back down this staircase, we're gonna ignore this danger ramp for just a second, and we're gonna detour down this path that is right next to resident services. We're continuing over to the right. Random gazebo because I needed a space filler. I had no idea what to put, and I mean, it kind of works. It's not my favorite gazebo, but it filled up the space nicely, and that's all that matters. So we continue down this diagonal path. Oh, hey Wisp. I also apparently forgot to pick up that tarantula statue. Apologies. But we've got our little mail room over here. A very undecorated beach. And we have my player home, Molly's house, and Lopez's house. So Lopez's house is going to be like a small medical facility. And let's go check that out real quick. For some reason, Lopez kind of gives me doctor vibes, so he became the little doctor. He has, you know, 2 little medical beds over here with some of the medical equipment, and I think it's pretty nicely partitioned off, though you can't get to that bed over there. It is inaccessible. And he's just got some of these medical cabinets. Ooh, turned out a light, sorry. Paper and books, research equipment, you know, assorted things that someone might need. The x-ray equipment is obviously showing an animal skull, or a villager skull, because, you know, he's a animal doctor. And yeah, he's got a pretty basic hospital. I don't know what else to say. It's just a little hospital room he made. Yep. I think I accomplished what I was going for with this room. And right next door is my house, so let's go check it out. So my house is intended to be kind of like the astronauts' living quarters for everybody who lives on the island. So we have this quiet little opening room here with a place to hang your space helmets and your tools, and a place to come over and hang out and play some games with people. You know, just a kind of a quiet place to relax. I've got all my villager photos on the wall up here. They look very cute. And then let's go upstairs first. So upstairs is the sleeping quarters for our astronauts. They all have little curtain partitions and space beds and a little end table for some knickknacks. And it's just meant to be a little quiet place for them to get ready or wind down at the end of the day. They've got some cards and, you know, just some things. Is the big bathroom. I really wanted to have like a really large bathroom, so we just popped it in the basement. So there are 2 toilet and shower stalls here on the ends. One of them is currently working and one of them may not be. Behind these sinks, there is a little cabinet back there with some toilet paper on top. I imagine that you could probably like have a door to get in there in the real world, but this is Animal Crossing, and I just needed something to fill that space back there. I think it works out. So then on the side we've got 2 of these square bathtubs back to back. I really like the way that they look. And continuing downstairs, and I just kind of surrounded it with some bathroom stuff. So they've got their shampoos and like a bath ducky and, you know, a little radio and towels. And I imagine this is kind of like a communal pool, kind of like over in like Japan. You know how you go to like hot springs and all that. And there's a couple places to get ready, and yeah. I thought it was pretty cute. It also was an opportunity to like match the floor paper, the flooring and the wallpaper. I'm very out of practice. It's been a while since I've recorded videos, so I do apologize. But I really wanted to get this recording done so I can get started on my next island. This is our cute little cafeteria area. I was imagining more of these like futuristic meal set things. They're the little, these guys. But they didn't really fit, and I really like the way the food looks in this game, so I really wanted to have a variety of different food out. But yeah, they've got this little cafeteria. It's got like a little buffet style. Come and get your, you know, salad. I think this was a salad bar. And apple pie, some canned goods. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough. It'd be a nice place to come and get a snack and have a nice meal. So I wanted a place where everybody could kind of chill and be a little bit louder, more rambunctious. They've got some karaoke and a guitar. They've got a couple arcade machines and a foosball table. And a lot of this is just stuff that like I, the player, can interact with because I like interacting with the items in the game. I think it's so cute that there's, you know, the darts actually go and land on the dartboard. I love that detail. This is like an artificial outside area. I imagine that this would be like a temperature controlled, like air conditioned room. You know, like you can imagine that you're back on Earth when you're here. So there's a whole bunch of nature and nice cool drinks and the Brewster gyroid hanging out in the flowers. But this is a nice place for you to come and relax and get in tune with nature while we live on a snowy moon planet. Yeah, also praying mantis because they're really cool. I think they're a very cool animal. I used to have an orchid mantis and she was the greatest thing ever. And that's all for my house over here. So continuing on, I just made a little seating area here that is centered to the houses but not to the museum, so don't look at it too hard. It's fine. The museum is just here. right on the main street. I kind of imagine it as more of like a research facility here. You know, this is where all the scientists come and work, and up behind we've got this little cool multiple tier platform for my other player character, Willow and Diana. So let's check out Diana's house first, because this was actually the inspiration for this whole island. Alright, we are inside. Miss Diana is reading, and this whole island came to be because I really wanted to use the Aurora wallpaper, and I kind of needed a way to make the Aurora wallpaper work, so I thought, you know what, why don't we make a winter-based island that's during the Aurora? And this is what ended up happening. She has a little research lookout up here. I believe we're using the lunar floor here too. I don't remember, but it's definitely got some texture on it. So she's out here watching the stars and, you know, recording what she finds. She's got a couple little gyroids and things to keep her company, and a little tablet to communicate with, like, home base, I guess. But yeah, I really liked her house. I like how it turned out, and I wish that the lights... The only thing is that I wish the lights only took up, like, half of a tile instead of a whole tile, because they do take up quite a bit of room. They don't really give off the effect I was going for. I really wanted like a little aurora effect on the bottom with the lights, but you know, we do what we can with what we got. I still think it turned out nice. Bye, Diana. And just downstairs from Diana's house is the big research lab. So I imagine this is where all of the science experiments happen. So we'd have a pretty empty entrance room. I don't really know what to put in here, so there's, you know, some fossils and a gyroid and a talking skeleton. And we've got our little teacher's whiteboard over here. Maybe this is where like important information that everybody needs to know goes. And we got a copier, place to store your stuff. Mostly just space filler more than anything. This was one of the last rooms I designed, so it kind of shows, I think. But starting over to the left, we have a little research lab with a video camera and an arfoid and some medical equipment and science equipment, all kinds of stuff. I do like how these rooms ended up turning out, even though they are very similar with their wallpaper and flooring and most of the items, but I feel like each of them still kind of has their own little character and story to tell. That was what I was going for anyway while I was making this. And then in the back is another research room, but this one is more... this guy over here is researching fish. Don't question that there's a carp painting and a carp on a cutting board and a carp watching the carp. It just made me happy in a kind of morbid way. We need some fun in our lives. But over here they're working on, you know, the gardening and figuring out how to get plants and butterflies to kind of exist on the moon. So there's a whole bunch of little plant saplings, and maybe they're trying to figure out like soil combinations and whatnot. But again, just a little cluttered room that I think worked pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. The carp looking at the carp with the doom swirl and the carp painting. It amuses me. Sorry, man. This is kind of the repair station, I believe, or maybe where they build these lunar landers. So this is a cluttered mess of mechanical stuff. I liked using the industrial wall. I feel like it kind of worked in here. All of the different layers, all of the different, like, assorted items just scattered around, like the iron pipe wand over here, and rusted parts. And I got to use the Aurora wall again, which I'm very excited about. I think it looks really good in here with the jail bars kind of separating it. So this space is kind of open air, but not exactly. But yeah, pretty happy with this one. I think it's cool. And then we can head on upstairs to this really cool space control room. I really wanted to use more of the space furniture, the strategic meeting table and everything. It just didn't quite work, so I made this room. This is at the top of the house, so I imagine that this is like a dome where, you know, everybody can sit and keep an eye on their radars and observe the stars. So I've got some servers and fax machines and intercoms and things to make lights and noise, and yeah. It is kind of empty though. It's just there's a lot of noise, like visual noise on the wallpapers. So I think it fills up the space pretty well. It doesn't feel as empty as it does if I don't put that wallpaper in, but yeah. The basement is a mad scientist basement. We have a bunch of odd things happening down here. There's some little machines to make noise, and we're using, I believe it's the laboratory wallpaper, which has some really cool movement in it. And it matches these tubes really, really well. So we have an orchid mantis statue in one, a gnome in the other. My previous island of Evebury, the mushroom mountain forest that I made, had a whole bunch of gnomes hidden through it, so this was kind of a fun way to make like a nod to that, I suppose. And then on this side we have another gyroid, and then we have a vampire squid in there because I liked the capsule and how it was still, like, it wasn't a statue of a vampire squid, that's the real vampire squid, so he's moving around. And I just really liked the movement. Oh, also, it's really hard to see, but I think it's a fun little detail. I hung glowing moss, like the ceiling glowing moss stuff, above each and every one of the tubes, so you can see the little drips into them. I thought that was a fun detail, but it is very hard to see. I just thought I'd point it out, though. And yeah, that's the research facility here. Now that we've done that, let's go check out the moon. See what we're... Oh, wait, we can't. I forgot. We have this big canal over here. There's one more thing I need to do. It's really important to me to always have like some form of a rainbow garden. So I have a cute little rainbow garden here that also includes all of the star fragments. And there's a parabolic satellite farm field thing behind it. There's like 9 of them back there. No, less than that. 8. There's a lot of them though. But regardless, I think this is a really cool place to come, and you can get a pretty decent angle with all of them. I think you have to move the camera down before you sit down. I'm not the greatest with the camera in this game. But either way, I think it's a really pretty little space. It's super windy, which is kind of a shame. The plants are wiggling all over the place, but it's still real nice. It took me a while to figure out the spacing and the sizes and to get the colors swirl correctly. There's a few places where it's not as smooth as I would like it to be, but that's just the way the colors are in this game. But we can finally head on back to the moon now, through this little danger area. I really like this area. It's got a lot of noise here because of all of the meters and pipes. And there's a couple little like oil drum burner things back there. There's a lot of hidden details in here. I just really like how that area turned out. And then it just deposits you into the moon. Nice flat surface, everything being all nice and white. And there is a path here. It may be a little hard to see, and I apologize, but that is kind of what I was going for. But over here to the right, if we follow the path, we've got our 3rd player house that you cannot get to, because I did not want to do a 3rd player house. Not on this island. So it's in construction as like the first of the houses to be built, like outside of our little city. So we've got some construction equipment, And we got some gyroids keeping us company, a whole bunch of like supplies, and I put my campsite here because I liked the pile of goods, I suppose, and I didn't really have a better place for it. So it's just over here on this peninsula with this, I believe it's an no, it's not the aluminoid. Which one is this? The whirloid? Anyway, he spins in circles and it makes me happy because he looks like a cement mixer. But yeah, this is kind of a quiet place for the construction workers to hang out on their breaks, warm their little toes. And the beaches are pretty basic. I did block this off, and we'll go see why in just a second. But most of this area back here is kind of decorated relatively the same, with decayed trees, the glowing moss stuff. I did white mushrooms and white mum cushions. It's just pretty basic. It's kind of empty. It's kind of the way I wanted it. I think it looks really cool. And right here, we can jump down here, and I made a cool jump path. This took me forever to make, but I'm very proud of how it came out. Got a little landing you can land at, and then it just keeps going. I made sure to decorate with a bunch of like Nova stars and stuff like that around. We hop on over. This is a 2020 Evebury Island original. This is the very first code I ever made, and it's for me and my spouse. But we continue on down this beach specifically to where Kappa's pier is. And we have what I refer to as the crab rave. Got a whole bunch of crabs here with a bunch of lights and fun colored glowing moss things, and I just imagine they come here and party. And also there are turtles on a date, and this crab is their chaperone. And this is also an island original, because it also makes me happy. And Kappa's Pier is super boring. There is really not much here. It's basically just Kappa fishes here. If you don't want to take the jump path back, or you just don't want to take the jump path at all, there is technically a way through. You can squeeze yourself through there. And there we go, now we're free. But it's mostly to encourage people to go on the jump path because it's kind of fun. We used to all make jump paths, I think, anyway. I did, anyway. So this is Evebury. I've got a couple astronauts around. Every now and then there's a scattered satellite or rocket. I've got the moon up here. You can basically just kind of wander around to see what you want to see. There's many different paths. This down here, here's my rock garden up close. I'm so happy with how this turned out. This took forever to get in the perfect layout because they're not exactly spaced evenly, especially this one down here. But I think it worked out really well in the end. I'm very happy with it. I'm gonna regret tearing it down, but that's what we do. Up this way is Red Secret Beach. You can get to it, it's just a little difficult. You gotta like sneak around over on that side. But yeah. This over here, I really liked the symmetry of these like glowing moss ponds. I really wanted a way to use them, and the volcano has like a dormant form that I think matches the rest of these rocks really well. So I went with something pretty symmetrical here. You grab your camera before you sit down. Maybe not quite there. Maybe stand on the glowing moss. Again, I'm not really familiar with the camera. Apologies. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cute. I think it's fun to do some symmetrical builds every now and then. And then over here is kind of like the last little mountainous area. I don't know, I didn't really know what to put here, so I just kind of built a pretty small mountain with some water features because there really isn't a lot of water on here. And it just kind of framed the edge of the volcano pretty well. And up here, At the top of my island, on my little rock beach area, I've got some gyroids investigating a little tin can they found washed up on their beach. I just like the way they move. I imagine they're a little confused and upset by the trash on their island, but that's alright. We try to be respectful people. Respectful deer? Most of my villagers are deer. Am I a deer? I do wear a deer outfit a lot. So, down the beach, this is the solar panels that we were talking about much earlier. Down here by the garden that I can no longer get to. Thank you, Deirdre. But we're almost done, so that's fine. Over here, there's just a couple little details through the area, like the flying saucer abducting an alien. And just some decor. Vines and trees and shrubs and stuff, really. I don't know. I feel like I got the aesthetic pretty well here. I'm very happy with what I did. I apologize if you can hear my heater. It just turned on. I'm almost done. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I feel like I nailed the aesthetic. So that is the tour of Moon City, Evebury. I am pretty happy with how it turned out in the end. I feel like I got my vision out, and it looks pretty much the way I want it to look. I'm very happy. But I'm really excited to get started on my next island. Well, version of Evebury. This is my March 2020 island. I haven't overwritten it or anything. It's been the same island since day one. So when we get update 3.0, which I'm very excited we're getting, I would like to make a summer resort vacation island. I don't really have a whole lot of plans, just a bunch of sand and palm trees, and I think all of my villagers are going to have their own little yards, so I can decorate for personality, but I don't know, we'll have to see what happens. I'm thinking about doing some no commentary or little commentary long play videos, especially while I tear down my island, because some of the noises in this game are just so satisfying when you're tearing down the stuff. So, look forward to that. Maybe, I don't know, I just really wanted to get this video out so I could get started on my next island. And I'm still kind of settling down, figuring out my life. It's been a while since I've posted videos, but we will see what the future holds for us and what the future holds for Evebury. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye!